Well, hello everybody and welcome to this week's training. I'm really excited about this session. We are going to be covering A/B split testing, and it's a really important topic for your business. It can really make a huge difference to your business. So I'm looking forward to getting into the actual topic here. So in terms of what we are covering in this training session, how to use A/B split testing. It's either known as A/B testing or split testing or A/B split testing. They're all kind of interchangeable terms. So how to use that to build more traffic, get more leads, sell more stuff, and supercharge your Be Everywhere marketing. We're going to look at what is A/B split testing, why split test, why should you actually undertake split testing. It's all about small changes that can result in big improvements for your business. So how small hinges swing big doors. That's a phrase that's often used with split testing. We'll look at what to actually test. I'll show you how to set up split testing on your own website. So we'll go through that in quite some detail. So you'll be able to get started with split testing yourself, and some useful conclusions that we can draw from the whole session. So let's get into what is split testing. As I've said, you can refer to it as either A/B testing or split testing. The two terms are fairly interchangeable. It's all about testing one version of a page against another one to determine which best achieves a specific goal. So each page will have a certain conversion rate that you're looking to achieve, whether that's to say add email opt-ins to add leads to your email list, or to make sales and so on. Each page has a certain target that you want to achieve. So it's about testing one page against another to try and boost that conversion rate to see which one performs the best. Some examples, so you could have a page that's focused on lead stroke opt-in conversions. So a page that you want to use to boost the number of people on your list, on your email list. Sales conversions, so how many sales you're converting on your page. Video views, it doesn't just have to be getting sales or leads. It can also be to do with actual behavior on your website. So can you design a page that would increase the number of views of a particular video? You might want to reduce bounce rate, and bounce rate can have direct implications for sales levels and SEO and so on. So that could be a specific goal that you're testing against as well. And the whole idea of split testing is to increase your conversion rates over time. And we'll go through some examples of how that can quite radically improve things for your business and make huge adjustments. So it's all about really changing one variable at a time on a particular page to see if a certain change in that variable makes a difference, whether that's a headline, a button, it could be a call to action, so an actual specific request to somebody to say click a button or to purchase. You could be testing the layout of the page. I've got an example a bit later on that shows you how a layout change can make a really huge difference. It's quite surprising the difference that can make. Form fields as well, just changes, small changes in form fields in either the number or their position, for example, can make a big difference. And as I keep saying, it's all got hugely beneficial implications for your business. The results from all these tests really stack up over time and kind of compound the benefits for your business. And what I'd encourage you to develop is a kind of split testing mindset. And it's really about becoming obsessive about testing, because that's where the results are. You'll have some that don't work out so well and some that really do work, but it's only really all available to you when you become obsessive about it and really focus on it quite strongly. It also means that you have a certain mindset where each page on your site serves a specific purpose. I see a lot of websites where they have pages that might provide information and so on, but there's no real purpose to that page. It helps you to focus on the idea that each page should have that specific purpose, and because of that you tend to boost sales, boost opt-ins and so on, because you're looking for certain results from each page that you have. And it's all about really direct marketing principles. So they involve having an offer on each page. So you're making an offer to somebody, whether that's for a sale or whether it's to offer them a free report, for example, in exchange for their email address. Having a call to action, which is about telling somebody to take you up on that offer, essentially. And it's also about using evidence. So you may feel that a particular design of a page would work better for conversions. You really don't know until you actually test that. And what comes out of testing time and time again is that what you believe to be true quite often isn't, and the actual results can be very surprising at times. So why should we go down the split testing route? Improve your conversion rates, as I've stated, based on evidence, so not your opinion of what works, based on actual empirical data that you collect through the split testing process, so it's very scientific. And the beauty of marketing online is that we have all the data to play with. If you go offline, it's a lot harder to actually test things out, and it's a lot more expensive. Because of all the data that internet marketing gives you, it really gives you a lot of freedom to be able to drill down into that data to see what happens and to improve the results on your website as a result. And as we'll see, it can lead to dramatic income leaps, leaps in those conversion rates, which build up your leads, build up your sales, and so on. And it requires no additional investment. You're not doing any other activity other than testing a couple of things on a page. You're not adding new products and selling new stuff. It really is just about testing, one page against another, and you can get huge leaps of income and the leads that you're bringing in, and so on. Is often the difference between a successful business and a more struggling business, a failing business even. A lot of the kind of business successes that you see around the internet are all based on testing, because they've tested things so extensively. If you look at Amazon, for example, for a real kind of super successful business, should we say, they test constantly. They're always testing absolutely everything on their website. And because they've done that right from the beginning, they are now where they are. So it's a really huge thing to kind of get into this split testing mindset and to make this a central focus of your business, really. Let's just go through some examples. So let's say each customer to your business is worth $100, whether that's in an initial sale or kind of over time. And you may have, the standard conversion rate, which is around 1%, quite often banded about as the usual conversion rate on websites. And that would mean that every 100 visitors to a particular sales page would bring you one sale. So it would bring you that $100 customer, bring $100 into your business. So effectively, each visitor is worth $1. And that really means that you can only invest less than $1 per visitor to actually get them to your website, whether that's through content or some sort of advertising or other means of marketing. If you invest more than that, then obviously you're making a loss. So you're fairly restricted to that $1 per visitor. But then you start split testing, and through those tests, and we'll go into this in a lot more detail, you improve that conversion rate to 2%. So you double that conversion rate. And those 100 visitors now brings you $200 instead of the $100 we had before. Each visitor is worth $2. That allows you to then spend more on marketing, more on visitors, but basically with the same amount of marketing spend, you're now making double the money you were before. You've doubled that conversion rate, and in effect, you've now doubled your business. And it just comes down to that simple split test. So it's quite a profound change from a very simple thing, essentially, that you start doing. And split testing can often at least double conversion rates. So that example showed a doubling of conversion rates, and I'll show you how that can be increased. You can get a lot more than that on certain tests. Let's just have a look at an example. So let's say we have two web pages. Version A of the web page, we have a call to action at the end of the sales copy. And this actually comes from an example I found online of a successful split test. And there are loads around. If you just kind of Google split test examples, you'll see a load of these kind of examples of what can happen. And the other page, so we have page A with a call to action at the end of sales copy, page B with a call to action at the end of sales copy, so the same, but we also have that call to action repeated above the fold. So it's on the screen when somebody first visits the website, they're not having to scroll down to view it. And that's resulted in a 400% improvement in the conversion rate for that particular call to action, which is a huge improvement just from one simple change to a web page. And it's a change that you wouldn't know about unless you'd actually done that split test to see. Let's have a look at another example. This is about a layout of a page. So it's an example where they had a large trust icon area towards the top. There was like two columns on the page. The left-hand column they weren't testing, the right-hand column they were. So this is about the right-hand column. They had a large trust icon area. So with various icons that kind of increase somebody's trust in that particular website. Then they had a form where the call to action was based, where they wanted people to take the action, and a smaller trust icon area towards the bottom. And the other version of the page, similar with the form in the middle, but instead of the large trust icon area at the top, they had a large image or a hero shot at the top of the page there. And instead of at the top, they had a larger trust icon area towards the bottom. So on page A, we have like a smaller trust icon area at the bottom. On page B, it's just a larger version of that area. That simple layout change resulted in, again, a nearly 400% improvement, this time 367% improvement in conversions on that particular page. So again, it's not just about doubling conversions, it's more than 3 times, more than 300%. This is another example of a couple of versions of a web page with a change in headline. And you'll see the link on the page where this test comes from. So we have page A with one headline, you've arrived, get organized with the best, call or click today. And page B, clean, bright, organized, schedule your free design consultation today. They're tested one against the other. Most people actually believe that it's B that performs best. And you may believe the same. When I first took a look at this, I would also think that page B would perform better, but in actual fact, it was page A that had 115% improvement. And this example, it actually worked because of where the traffic was coming from. In some way, that headline tied in with the traffic that they were getting, and that they were getting traffic from pay-per-click. So it somehow tied in with the advert, and because of that, that got the improvement. So it's not always just about the page itself. It's also about where that traffic comes from. So it's just something to bear in mind. Different traffic to a page can make a lot of difference to the results that you actually get. So we've gone through, some really big results there, but what I don't want you to do is kind of get disillusioned when you don't get those same huge results yourself. They're unusual to get. But when you get more obsessive about split testing, you start doing this all the time, you will get them from time to time, those huge results, but most of the time they're going to be quite a bit smaller. So often you're looking at, say, 10 to 30% improvements. So often you're not looking at the kind of 100% plus level of improvement, or quite often you will go negative. So don't expect it always to be a successful result. What every test will show you, will give you, in a sense, is more knowledge about how your website works and how your visitors react to it. So don't always expect that every change that you make is going to result in an improvement. It quite often won't. You'll quite often find that what you have already is the best version. So it's a case of proving that that's the case and then going on to test something else to get those, smaller improvements over time, and potentially the odd, big leap in improvement as we've seen. The smaller results, though, they're still very important because they do add up over time and quite significantly as well. So let's imagine that you start at 1% conversion rate that we had before, and you do a split test that improves that conversion rate by 30%. So now your conversion rate on the page goes up to 1.3% conversion rate. You then do another test, another split test, and you get a smaller 10% improvement. It's still an improvement, but now you're up to 1.43% conversion rate. You test something else, you get a slightly bigger leap, so 40% improvement. And just with those 3 tests that you've ran, you've now got a 2% conversion rate instead of 1%, so you've now doubled. And all you've done, again, is just 3 simple split tests there to double that conversion rate. All added together, you'd expect that to be about 80%, but it's more than what you'd expect, so it's a doubling of that initial conversion rate. So the message really is, don't discount the smaller results that you get. They still make a huge difference to you. And the results compound over time. So let's say you had a starting position of, say, 1,000 leads a month. I've just used very round numbers just to provide the example. So you may not be able to relate to this too much, or you may be able to. But just focus on the numbers. Let's say that you have a 1% conversion rate of those leads. So in terms of converting those leads into sales. So 1% conversion rate of 1,000 leads would give you 10 sales a month. If you split test the opt-in page for that and end up with a 40% improvement, that now gives you 1,400 leads a month. So we'll see how this compounds over time. So with that improvement, now 1,400 leads a month instead of 1,000. And you're also split testing something within your sales process, perhaps a web page that you're sending those leads to. You get a 40% improvement on that as well. So that's now a 1.4% conversion rate on your sales. But because you've now improved both the opt-ins and the sales, you're now on a higher conversion rate of a higher number of leads. So 1.4% conversion of 1,400 leads, and now that's 20 sales a month rather than the 10 sales that you had before. So you've effectively doubled your sales with those 2 small improvements to 2 separate pages on your website. So let's have a look at what to actually test. It's best to always start with the lowest hanging fruit, so stuff that can make the biggest changes for you, can lead to the biggest improvements for you. Look at the headline, first of all. If you've got, say, a sales page or even an opt-in page with a headline, often changes to the headline, you'll see dramatic differences between one headline and another. And even the sub-headline, the pre-headline, any text you've got around the headline and so on. The actual call to action changes to that can make a big difference, or you may not have a very strong call to action. So putting in a stronger call to action and just testing what that does can lead to huge improvements. The text on a button, if you have currently, say, submit on a button, and you're offering a free report, for example, to an opt-in, to a lead that you're trying to attract, just changing that text from something like submit to download now can make a huge difference in the conversion rate. Form fields, and we'll have a look at an example a bit later, but the way that you deal with form fields on the page, the number you have, even the layout can make a big difference. It can quite often be as well about moving things above the fold on the page, so people don't have to scroll down to see things. You make it as easy as possible for somebody to take the action that you want them to take on that particular page. So it's about moving things above the fold in terms of the text or the sales copy, certain aspects of the layout. Graphics can make a big difference as well. So it's not always about what you think looks best. It's about it's always about testing what works best on your particular website. So different colors in the graphics, different graphics entirely can make a big difference. Let's just have a look at some examples of how this can lead to kind of big changes. And this is just a simple kind of registration form for an event, which also brings leads into your business. So we have basically the same form on each side of the page there, but with one, we have a sense of urgency in the button that we've got there. So instead of register, we have register now. That kind of change can often lead to a 10% improvement. It's not set in stone, by the way. This is all about testing on your own website, so it may or may not result in that particular change, but generally adding urgency can lead to that kind of improvement. And often fewer fields on the form also increase conversions, basically because the person going to the form has less work to do. It's easier for them to take the action that you're looking for them to take. Often removing a field from a form can lead to, say, a 10-15% lift in the subscription, in the conversion rate on that page. Let's have a look at some general principles. So we've looked at urgency within the button. So quite often adding urgency on a page can lead to those kind of improvements. So you could look at things like time. So there could be a certain deadline for people to take the action by, or just adding a word like now to a particular call of action can make a lot of difference. Scarcity, if there's, say, a limited supply of something that you're making available, that can make a big difference to conversion rates. Generally make the conversion as pain-free as possible. So the action that you want a visitor to take when they arrive at your page should be as pain-free and as easy as possible for them to take. And we saw the example of fewer fields. So the less fields there are, the easier it is for somebody to take the action. Adding trust icons to your page just to give people that sense of trust in your business can make a big difference. So in terms of secure seals, for example, if you have security certificates on your page, just making sure those seals are also showing on your page. There are other places you can get these trust icons from as well. We've talked about headlines, so test different headlines. You will quite often see quite profound differences between different headlines, as I've stated earlier on. Video as well, adding video to a page, it increases engagement. It means people stay on your page for longer. They like watching video. That can lead to big changes in conversion, whether that's for sales or, again, for opt-in rates. I've talked about moving things above the fold as well. So look at moving that call to action above the fold. And also have a look at testing multiple call to actions on the page. So you may have a call to action above the fold on the page and also another one, beneath towards the end of your sales copy, or just, at the bottom of the content of that page. So just give people a lot of opportunity to take the action that you're looking for them to take. Also look at responsive site design now. It's really important, especially with, say, Google, who are now prioritizing sites in their listing that are mobile friendly. So a responsive site design basically means that website will configure itself properly for different devices that people are using to access it, whether that's mobiles or tablets or desktop computers and so on. So the fact that people can view it properly on the device that they're viewing it in or with means that they're much more likely to take that action. So it's about testing different things to see how this works for your particular market, how this works on your particular website. And multiple tests are greater than the parts. So individual tests will give you certain lifts, but together they kind of combine to give you a bigger lift. So if you're running, if you've run a couple of tests that both improve things for you at 10% each, they don't give you a 20% lift as you might expect, but instead a 21% improvement overall. And those compounding figures get bigger, the bigger that the percentage improvements are in each test. So if you have a couple of tests that both improve at 40%, they combine to give you nearly 100% improvement. And the more tests you run, the bigger that improvement becomes over time. So if you have 3 tests that give you 10%, 50%, and 40% improvement, you're looking at 130% overall improvement. So it really just, the numbers get bigger the more you go on. In terms of the testing process itself, test one thing at a time. That's really important. You may have heard of multivariate testing, and that's really much more applicable when you have a very high traffic site, so a ton of traffic on your website all the time. So, sites like Amazon that I mentioned earlier on, they're much more able to test multiple things at once because they have all the traffic to enable them to do that. If you try doing that with lower traffic, it will just take a very, very long time to be able to get a result back from it, and it might not be that conclusive anyway because of that length of time that it's taken. So you really need to test one thing at a time that allows you to get the results back a lot quicker, depending on traffic levels, within sort of a few days or a few weeks, and so on. Certainly be patient with it. It can take weeks for an answer to come through, for a conclusion to be made, depending on the traffic levels that you have on your website. And obviously, the more that you do these tests, and say the more opt-ins that you're getting as a result, the more traffic you get, and it helps the process in future. So with that increased traffic, you'll then be able to do testing at an increased rate, and so on. It's very easy to do when you start testing is to believe in your own head that a particular version of a page is clearly winning, and to therefore stop the test before you should have done. And I've done that before. I've been guilty of that before myself. But it's about having statistical significance in that data. And quite often I'll find that a test appears to be heading one way in the first part of that test, and I'm nearly on the cusp of stopping that test because I think it doesn't need to run anymore, that I've found a conclusion. But then I'll find after a few more days, the test starts to go the other way, and it's all about statistical significance, which means you don't really have the confidence in terms of the figures, in terms of the statistics, to be able to make that decision yet, even though at first look you may feel that it's justified. You may hear things like orange buttons always convert better, but please don't assume anything. Different websites, different businesses in different markets will have very different results. Something that works for one business with one particular market, with one particular traffic source, and so on, will have a completely different result than you might. So the only thing you can do is just to test these things out, base it solely on hard empirical data, and test the assumptions that you may have already. So you may assume that a particular version of a website or of a web page would perform better than another one, but it's been proven time and time again that quite often our own assumptions are completely wrong. It's all about basing it on the data itself. And to look some more at statistical significance, so you could have one page where you've had, say, 974 people through and 5 of them have converted. Another version of that page, 961 people, so slightly fewer people but more conversions at 7 conversions, and you may assume that page B would be the winner, and that would continue to be the case. But when you start looking at statistical significance, in fact, there's only a 45.27% chance that page B will be the winner, and there's various bits of software online that you can kind of enter these bits of data in and test out that statistical significance. So there's a less than half chance that page B will actually be the winner. So it's not sensible to stop the test at that particular stage. It won't mean anything if you do. To stop a test, you need far more than that. You need at least 95% certainty. And we'll look at how we can do this through Google Analytics shortly, and they take control of all this statistical significance for you, and won't stop a test until you reach 95%. You can tweak that in your settings, but it's best to leave that at 95% so you have a clear result and the test is actually worthwhile for you. I talked about sources of traffic slightly. It's not just the page itself that makes a difference to the to the conversion rate. It's all about where the traffic comes from as well. And the source of traffic often has dramatic effects on your conversion rate on that page. Just as an example, for say a webinar opt-in page, if you're running a webinar with a partner, say a joint venture partner, and they're sending traffic to it, it's warm traffic, they're being recommended by someone they have a relationship with. So you're looking at a conversion rate of say 30 to 50% or perhaps higher on that particular page. Whereas if you sent traffic from a cold advertising source where there's no prior relationship, you'll be looking at a far lower conversion rate on that. So typically less than 10%, often quite a bit lower than that. For other lead pages on your website, if you're getting warm traffic to it through content marketing, the benefit of content marketing, or one benefit, is that as somebody consumes your content, they build a relationship with you, and so they'll be warmer towards you. So you'll get traffic through there, and also through social media sources where you may have that relationship as well. You could be looking at conversion rates of say 10 to 20%, but again, cold traffic from advertising, no relationship there, no trust there yet. You'd be looking at less than 10%, depending on the targeting of that advertising as well. So if it's targeted very well, that can make that can make some big improvements to the conversion rate. If it's very broadly targeted and not really towards the sort of person who would convert on your website, then you'd be looking at worse conversion rates. So there are a lot of different factors involved in how the conversion rate turns out on a particular page. Let's get into how to actually start split testing. We are looking at doing it through software called Content Experiments, which is based in Google Analytics. It's all free to use and so on. There are other bits of software online that you can use to kind of take this even further if you would like to, but this is really the simplest place to start if you're not doing split testing yet. So the first step will be to install Google Analytics, and we'll go through all these steps. We then set goals within your account. So the goal would be what you want to achieve on a particular page. You choose the pages that you want to test and set up the tests for them. You decide the variable that you're going to test for each page, whether that be the form layout, the headline, a button, and so on. And start the split testing process. Leave it to run until you achieve that statistical significance that I've been through. So let's have a look at installing Google Analytics. First of all, if you don't have this already installed, if you do, then just kind of sit by for a little while I just run through this quickly. You'll need to go to google.com/analytics to create your account with them. You then set up a property, which is essentially your website. So if you just click admin on the top menu bar within Google Analytics, you'll then choose the account that's relevant, or you can create a new one there. And then you go to create your property. So you'll see property, just click the create new property button there. And we'll have a look at how to set up the particular property. So this is a website or a mobile app. We're really looking at websites here, so select the website option there. It's very straightforward, very self-explanatory. So just type in your website name, enter the URL to your website, select the most appropriate industry category. I don't believe this has any effect on the actual collection of data within your account. Google does this really for their advertising side, so they can see what type of website you've got, and then when people are visiting your website, they can actually use it to judge the type of person that they are, the type of thing that they're interested in, and show advertising to them accordingly elsewhere around the internet. So that's not too important, but just select the most appropriate category for you. The reporting time zone, make that relevant to yourself. So if you're based in the US, you'd obviously select your own time zone there. If you're in the UK like myself, change the country to United Kingdom and so on, all very self-explanatory. Click the Get Tracking ID at the bottom, and then you install the code that they provide you with. And it's important to add that code to every page on your website so that you get an overall view. And they also provide some information on how to do that. There are options to kind of install that yourself or to send it to your webmaster and so on. So once you've got that installed, you're all set to go. In terms of setting goals, these are really important for the split testing process because you want to know the conversion rate for these goals. Goals reflect your objectives on the website, so that's conversions, for example, such as you want somebody to opt into your list. That's the goal of a particular page. Or you might want somebody on that page to make a purchase. So again, this goes back to the idea that each page has a specific target, a specific goal, and the whole of that page is designed to help you achieve that goal, and split testing helps you to make that as effective as possible. When a visitor reaches a particular goal on your site, Google Analytics then records it. If you're running split tests against that goal, you then get those results in your split test results as well. And you set up your split test by defining the particular goal that you're testing against, the goal that you want to improve the conversions for. So in terms of setting goals, you go to Admin on the top menu. Again, as before, go to the View side, which is on the far right of that screen, and click down to Goals, and then click the New Goal button. And the next bit can appear to be slightly confusing at first, but it's really about just selecting the most suitable option for you. Don't worry too much about it. Generally, in terms of opt-ins, I would choose the create an account option there to signify kind of a new lead for yourself. You may want to pick another option, but that tends to be the option that I go for. If it's about a sale on your website, if you're setting up a goal that reflects somebody purchasing from you, then generally go for the buy merchandise option. But again, just pick what seems to be most appropriate for you. In the goal description area, you will then give the goal a name so that you can identify it easily in future. I've just put buy product here, but you'll put something more specific to your own business. It could be a particular product, for example, that they've bought, a particular list that someone has opted into. Generally, for the examples I'm kind of going through today, you'll want the destination under type. So it could be a particular page that people go to that tells you that they've achieved a particular goal. But there are other options available, such as duration, so the length of time people spend on a page if you're testing bounce rate, the number of pages that they view. While on your website, you might be looking to improve that in some way, or an event. And I've talked about, the possibility of getting somebody to play a video or to watch a video for longer, and you can select the event option to track an individual event on a page. In terms of the goal details, the most simple way is to start with the equals to method and just enter something like your thank you page URL. If you have more complicated things, it caters for that too. So it could be that your URL begins with a certain set of characters, but won't have anything on the end. That could have other characters on the end. It could have extra parameters on the end as well. So in that case, you would pick the begins with option rather than the equals to, or it could be a regular expression, which is more a programmatic term. So your webmaster could help you with that option if there are more complicated, if there's a more complicated goal setup for your particular business. So in terms of the destination, you may just enter your thank you page URL. If you do select the equals to option, that means that there won't be anything else on the end of that URL, at the end of that link, so there won't be extra data. If there is extra data, then just pick the next option down. The value, if it's a sale that you're testing here, you may optionally stick in a value for that goal, and this allows you to view extra reporting within Google Analytics as well. So we had the example earlier on with a customer being a value of $100 to you. So you could just type in any amount there or just leave it blank depending on what works for you. The funnel is generally a more advanced option. I'd probably leave that off if it's something you're just getting started with, but you can just have a look at that, see if that would work to you. It's generally about testing the path that the visitors to your website take to reach the goal, and testing that over time as well. To make sure that you've set things up correctly, there is a verify this goal link at the bottom, and that just tests how things have it tests whether that goal has been reached within the past 7 days, just to check based on your analytics data that's in place already. So that won't work if you've only just set up the account, but if you've had it going for a while and you've already got data in there, you can use that option just to check that that goal is set up correctly, so that you start getting some valid test results through. So to create your goal, you click the Create Goal button, and you'll see it then listed there with you. So once you set up a few goals here, you'll have them all listed down for you. So let's get into how to set up the actual split test. Again, you'll be back on your Google Analytics control panel, so click Reporting this time at the top. And then you'll get some menus down the left-hand side. Go to Experiments, and that's how you access Google's Content Experiments functionality. Click the Create Experiment button, and then just fill in the details that it requests. So the name for the experiment is just things for your own reference. So you could be testing a new headline. Just enter something that makes sense to you. The objective is where you will select the goal that you have set up within your account. You can actually create those goals here as well, but it's probably easier to set it up separately, as we have done before, as I've just been through with you. So just select the goal that you're looking for. It could be to buy something, could be to opt in, and so on. Generally, you'll be looking to experiment with 100% of the traffic. It does give you that option. If you're running a very high traffic website, for example, you may only want to test with a subset of that traffic just to minimize any potential impact. You will probably want to turn the email notification on. It's off by default, so turn that on, and your email address will show, so you'll leave that as default, or you can enter in another one if you wish. There are some advanced options as well. Generally, you'll leave these off. You won't change these. In terms of the first one there, distribute traffic evenly across all variations. That's off, which means that what Google does is, as it starts to see something win, as it starts to see a variation win, it will start directing more traffic to that winning page, which means that you will benefit from those improvements straight away. If you want each page to be treated completely evenly, you can just turn that option on, but generally I leave it off for that reason. I want to take advantage of the winning page as soon as I possibly can. You can set a minimum time, 2 weeks or more generally, and also set a confidence threshold. Really, I would leave that at 95%. You can set it to lower if you want to, but you'll be losing some statistical significance if you do so, and the test may not be actually a true accurate result. And after all, you're after real empirical data here, real evidence that you can use for your business. So when you continue, you then have the opportunity to enter in the 2 different pages that you want to test. So you enter in the URL for each particular page. You can see the example here. It could just be sales1.html, sales2.html for each one. Name the page. you'll probably want to leave it as original and just enter in something for the next one to show what's changed. So for this example, I've got sales2.html and the name for the page, new headline. Again, it's just for your own reference, so you can see which variation is winning and you can understand the data that you start getting back for that. You can add more than one variation. Again, that's going to be more relevant if you have more traffic. You can test, multiple pages at once. Generally, these are far more effective if you just stick to 2 different pages. You will get the results back a lot quicker and be able to benefit from those results a lot quicker. So generally, just stick to a couple of pages when you're testing, a couple of variations. You then get the code that you need to stick onto your website and to allow that experiment to start to run. So again, you can send it to your webmaster if it's not the sort of thing you're familiar with yourself, or manually insert it if you're quite happy with that. It's generally a case of just pasting it on to the original page. Then that controls splitting traffic between that page and the next one and the variation. Once you've installed the page, it will then validate that code to tell you whether it's correct or not. I have some sort of issue on my website because I run on a cloud server. I always get these error messages back for some reason, even though it can review the page perfectly well. I don't quite know why that is, but I tend to see these error messages even though the code is perfectly fine. I then click the start experiment and it does run perfectly well. But what you should be looking for is output similar to that, where it tells you it's validated the code on your page, it's found the Google Analytics code, and you know that you're all up and running. So that's really what you should be looking for. So once it's validated, just click the Start Experiment button and it will then start running for you. So click the button, it will then confirm it's launched, and immediately if you go to the original page, you'll see it either sending you to that same page, or it could send you to your variation page, and that will be the same for every visitor to your website until you turn that experiment off or it finishes. So you'll see it running in your experiments control panel within Analytics, and it's basically a case of just leaving that for several days or more to start collecting the data for you. So this is an example result from some time ago. It's got June on the data here, but it actually goes back a year or two. So this actually shows an example where I tested a variation of the page against an existing page, and the result actually went down. So as I was saying, you're not always going to be boosting your conversion rates, but it's about just testing certain things because you never know whether it's going to lead to a dramatic improvement or simply tell you that what you've got now is the best page to continue having for the time being. So for this particular test, the new page that I thought might do better actually resulted in a nearly 50% drop in conversion rate, which is a new thing that I then learned. Could take that forward, test something else, and try and get a winning experiment. So just go with the failed results, shall we say. It tells you something. It's just as much a success as the more successful results, because you now know something that you didn't know before. And you'll also get the lifts. You'll try something else. So this was a headline test on a particular opt-in page. One headline it was actually just a bit of pre-text of the headline, just a little bit of text above the headline itself. One version had struggling for traffic, the other one had need more traffic. So just a change of 2 words on the page, and that resulted in a 63% lift in conversion rate. So it went from 13% to just over 21% conversion rate on that particular page before Google found that it had reached statistical significance and stopped the experiment. So you'll have results that kind of go negative and also go positive as well. So it's about doing these tests over and over again and improving all the time. So obviously after this test, I stuck with version B and ran more tests, test other things out on the page, and let that run and continue from there. So conclusions, start testing now if you're not already. It can make a really huge difference to your business, as I've said. When you're doubling or more conversion rates, for your opt-ins, for your sales, and so on, you're looking at more than doubling your business effectively. And it feeds the whole be everywhere strategy. As an example, improving your opt-in conversion rate gives you more leads. When you're doing email marketing and so on, bringing them back to your website, that leads to more traffic, leads to more social referrals, leads to more referrals from other websites and so on, because you're communicating with a larger base of people. So you're in front of people more often. And also improving your sales conversion rates, of course, that gives you more marketing dollars that then you can plow into further marketing, such as content creation, other forms of marketing like advertising and so on. If you say double your lead, your opt-in conversion rate, you're not spending any more money on getting those visitors. Each visitor is half the price it used to cost you to get them to your website. So it makes a big difference. And as I've been through, remember that you only have to improve your opt-in conversion rate by 40% and your sales conversion rate by 40%. And a single test can do that for you fairly easily. It may take 2 or 3 tests to kind of get there. It just really depends on what happens. So it only takes 40% on both sides to double your business. Let's run through an example. So 3 tests for each, improving your conversion rate by 10 to 15% each time. Most businesses could easily do that within 12 months, often a lot less, with a proper focus on split testing. So really, improving that conversion rate by 40% doesn't take a great deal to do. As I've said, 1 test could do it. It could just be 2 or 3 tests with those results compounded. And you could probably achieve a whole lot more than just doubling your business. It's very easy to achieve a lot more than that with variations of tests and just to continue that testing process. It's how businesses become a lot more successful over time. It really is. It's the real root of it. Businesses that test improve. Businesses that don't can't. It's that simple. What you measure, you can then improve. You've probably heard that quite a few times. If you're not measuring, then you don't really know what's going on. You can't improve things. By really focusing on split testing, you can really improve things very dramatically for you over time.